My name is Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it. Do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and
plus
beer.
years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
Say community policing, right? What about community dispatch?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here of Let's Talk Dispatch with me, Ashley, the Raspy Dispatcher. Hopefully your week is going well and you are heading into this 2025 well rested and ready to take on the new year. It is really astonishing how fast time flies. I was just on a live the other day where someone was like, I'm a 9-month dispatcher. And I was just like, man, I remember distinctly being in like my academy, sitting in learning this job. And that was in 2018. And so now I'm almost 7 years in, and 7 is real close to 10, you know? So time really does fly in this career and in general. So make sure that you're continuing to check in with yourself, no matter what you are doing in life, whether you are trying to get into this line of work or you got years under your belt. You blink and time is moving along. So always remember to check in with yourself and with those folks that you love, because you never know when you're going to wake up 10 years into this thing. So before we get started with today's guest, let's hear a word from our sponsors. Today's episode of Let's Talk Dispatch is proudly sponsored by Prepared. Their mission is to be public safety's most assistive technology. Revolutionizing how we handle emergencies, Prepared is dedicated to saving more lives and making our communities safer. Learn more about how Prepared is transforming emergency response at prepared911.com. Our next sponsor is Zybex Media. Since 2020, Zybex has been creating impactful recruitment films for their customers. Zybex Media offers their expertise, providing a full range of media solutions designed to attract and retain talent for all PSAPs. Visit zybex.com/media to learn more. These partnerships help us continue to spread the message that the world needs more dispatchers. Interested in partnering with us? Head to theraspydispatcher.com. As always, a big shout out to our sponsors who help support dispatchers and what we're doing here at the Raspy Dispatcher. Check them out if you have not yet. They're doing some amazing things. Now, for today's episode, I am so excited to have my guest, who is a CAD System Administrator at Versatron Public Safety, but they also have an incredible 26 years of experience as a 911 dispatcher in Philadelphia. And they have a deep passion for talking about dispatch. My guest today, Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hey, Ashley.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being willing to come on to the show and chat with me.
Nice. I love talking about dispatch. So,
Hey, we need to talk more about it, right?
yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit how you got into public safety. 26 years
Yeah. 26
dispatching, no
years.
joke.
Yeah, I started I'll go back. I started as a medical assistant and I was working in a dermatology department at a hospital. And after about 5 years, it wasn't, I felt like it wasn't my thing. I was ready for something different. My sister-in-law was already a dispatcher working in police radio, and she tipped me off that Philadelphia was looking for bilingual dispatchers, and I applied. So, and the rest is history. 26 years later. Yeah.
What was that shift like? I mean, I always feel like when folks pivot into dispatching, it's either yeah, this is what I expected it to be, or I had no freaking clue what I was signing up for.
It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. As far as the shift, I worked the steady night shift. So it was 11 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning.
Mm,
for many, 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 many years, very long time. Um, it I didn't have a problem with the with that particular shift because it was uh I would it matched my personality type a little bit more, where it's more like, just calm.
mhm,
So, and that,
mhm.
well, you know what? I'm gonna backtrack on that because there's nothing calm about me. But, you know, I I took it because I felt like it was a good shift. It would give me this freedom in the morning, and I had children.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and all my kids are radio kids. So they're used to mom not being there for holidays, weekends,
Mhm.
things of that sort. So, they're grown now, but that was a thing back then. So,
Yeah, heck yeah.
yeah.
I just feel like when I talk about, like, day shift, I've been on day shift for 4 months now. I'm going into my second 4 months of day shift because we switch every 4.
Mhm,
Um, and I prefer nights. I just
mhm.
feel like time is not the same on day shift and night shift. Like, when I work day shift, I feel like I have no time on my work. Like, I'm
Mhm,
up at 5 AM, I'm home by 6:37, and that gap between getting home, eating dinner, and taking my butt to bed just feels like a
mhm.
minute.
Yeah,
Where when I work night shift, I wake up, I slow roll out of bed, I get ready, I enjoy some coffee,
yeah,
I even get a workout in, then go to shift. And I just like it's the same amount of time before and after. It's just I swear it's just built differently.
yeah, yeah.
Did you
It's a different
experience
monster. Yeah,
anything like that? It's inhumane to get up for
yeah.
new shift in my personal opinion. Oh my gosh. Well, doing this for 26 years and,
Mhm.
now you're kind of on the technology side of things. What do you think is different looking at this job with like the tech that we have nowadays and being on this side of tech versus back then when you started?
Well, back then when I started, it was, I wouldn't say it was a lot simpler back then, right?
Mm,
Even though we were dealing with technology, there wasn't this uh blasting of information overload, right?
mm,
If things were Cobalt CAD, real clean, very simple, dark interface,
mm,
nothing bright. It was it was different. It
mm,
was calming. A lot of the new CAD systems out there blast you with
mm,
so much information instead of
mm,
calling for it. So, like if I say, I need to add a call, then I should have that, ability to pull up a call mask without having it always displayed in front of my face. So, like
mm,
things like that, I think AI definitely coming into 911, it is a
mhm,
game changer, data analytics. I think that the 911 can strike a balance between
mm,
the use of AI technology and maintaining that human in the loop,
mhm,
right? I believe that if AI were available during the pandemic, during COVID, it would have alleviated some of the burden that was going on. We wouldn't have some of those staffing challenges that we have today.
mm,
And I really believe that. I don't believe that AI in 911 should be used to replace any human, right?
mhm, mhm,
But I believe that it should be there to use as a tool to deal with non-emergency type situations
mhm.
where where a human it may not be needed, right?
Yeah.
Something like illegal parking illegal parking, right? You don't need to
Mhm,
speak to a human about that, but
mhm.
somebody shot, you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm,
right? So that they don't dispatches, you're going to take some of that workload off of those call takers
mhm,
and they'll be able to handle the more challenging calls
mhm,
where you absolutely need a human voice and you need that human empathy that AI right now cannot offer. So
mhm,
there's a balance that we can strike, and I believe that it now is the time. And I also believe that this will empower telecommunicators. I really do. I don't believe that AI being introduced to 911 is uh is a threat to jobs. I
Yeah,
really don't. Yeah.
I agree. And I don't think that the everyday citizen understands how much those dispatch centers are a catch-all for the cities or counties
Yes.
they work for.
Yes.
And that a lot of times, especially the smaller cities, when you get rolled over to dispatch, it happens often because I work weekends.
Hmm.
I pick up and I'm like, hi. And they're like, yeah, I need a permit for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Right.
you reached the police department. Like,
Right.
what are you trying to? And because there's a catch all, we're not here. So we're going to roll it over to dispatch and they can
Right.
problem shoot. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and the reality is, like, cool, yeah, I'm here 24/7, but
Hmm.
also now I'm putting this permit on hold while having to answer 911,
Right.
and it's just this extra load that we shouldn't be dealing with because it's not a criminal police matter, you know? So,
Yeah. And,
yeah.
and when dispatchers are when telecommunicators are being blasted with all this information
Mm,
and this intense workload, you're working shift work, you're dealing with vicarious trauma, you're dealing with compassion fatigue, you're
mm,
dealing with because when people call 911, it's not because they're having a great day. So when they call, they want action, they want and 911 has to be there and they have to
mhm,
be able to provide that service. If if there's a way to offload some of that burden off of telecommunicators with that. And I mean, I'll give an example. Philadelphia takes close to 3 million calls a year,
mm,
right? So
mhm,
imagine take that and divide that up into however many
mhm,
call takers are available, because in Philly they split their call takers and dispatchers. You don't get a break. From the
mm,
minute it's forced answers, so the minute you're done with one call, you're getting blasted with the second call. If I
mhm,
just finish handling a triple shooting
mhm.
and the next person's calling because the dog is barking loud next door,
Yeah,
as a human, how am I like you're human.
mhm,
How do you handle that?
yeah,
Why does that call need to hit me?
mhm,
Why can't I just say, AI pick up certain text in the conversation and take the call, or however way it works now, which I'm still getting familiar with some of the
mm,
call handling software. But
yeah,
it's just it to me. I think there's a way. There's a way that public safety can manage this, because it's you're definitely having staffing challenges, and I believe that there's a better way to handle it.
yeah,
People
no.
are not signing up to be dispatchers, right? This is not like when you're in high school. This is not like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a dispatcher. Like
Yeah,
that's not. I don't think I've yet to meet somebody that has one. And I'm pretty sure they're out there, but
yeah,
I mean, I think that there's a way to do this, and there's a way to make that job more appealing,
mm,
where you don't have to use AI because you have enough manpower. And
yeah,
and in that sense, I think that dispatchers need more support.
mhm.
So,
And do you think, like, obviously, like, technology for 911, is slow to come to our industry,
yeah.
right? We're kind of
Mhm.
we're the first ones who should have it, but the last ones to
Right.
receive it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even with, like, NG 911, right? There's this big,
Mhm.
hoopla about implementing this and the struggles
Mhm.
they're having just because foundationally and way out of my scope of practice,
Yeah.
our foundation, our structure with technology is lacking. So
Mhm.
there's these challenges in implementing bare minimum technology
Yeah.
into 911 because we have, maybe with lack of better words, kind of put that system on the back burner when we should
Mhm.
have been updating it all along.
Exactly.
And do you think that anyone had any idea, like, how important technology would be for this service? Because I mean, it's only a 60-year-old service, right? Maybe 50?
Yeah.
I think it's the 60th birthday recently. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
think so.
it's an infant, you know, as far as a service is. Do you think anyone had any idea how important technology would be for this answering the phone service that they thought of back in the day?
Wow, that's really a good question.
Mhm,
I really don't think so. I think that
mhm,
they thought it was always going to be the phone rings, I pick up, I take the
mhm,
information, write it down, and then give it to somebody that'll give
mhm,
it to the officer.
mhm.
Something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm,
I really don't think, and I also don't think that they consider, the fact that, and I don't think this is nationwide, but the fact that dispatchers are considered, basically they're clerical work
mhm,
type work
mhm,
also doesn't give that impression of first responder status. It should
yeah,
be certain programs available for dispatchers where they don't have to pay out of pocket for stuff for
mhm,
such as mental health,
yeah,
things of that sort. I really don't think that they thought that we were going to even get to this point where
mhm,
where 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 we're at right now, where we're talking about AI
yeah,
possibly handling calls. I don't think it was in there. I don't
yeah.
think they thought about it.
Yeah, they were like, "We're just gonna give them this map book and, they're gonna be alright." Just
Yeah. I remember picking up big maps and trying,
Mhm,
okay, they're here. I think they're here. We're going,
mhm.
okay, this is the best one to pick. And
Yeah,
just that's how we dispatched. It was
yeah.
now it's like, computer dispatch.
It's true
Computed.
though. I say all the time, like, folks who I've met who've been doing this for, like, 30 plus years, like, I don't think I could have done this job the way folks did it without the technology. I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm in that, like, little bubble where compute like, Facebook was grow I grew up with Facebook, I
Oh,
grew up like, it was all this technology was becoming popular as I grew up versus, like, my niece and
okay.
nephews are like, technology is in my hand all the time, so I
Yes,
saw
yes.
it
Hmm.
evolve, and so thinking about it now, even starting dispatching in 2018 to now seeing text 911 come in, seeing, like rapid SOS, rapid deploy,
Hmm.
mapping, all
Yeah,
that be implemented just in my 6, 7 years.
yeah,
I couldn't imagine those things not being around to help me with my job. So for the
yeah.
dispatchers who've been doing this 20, 30, 40 years, man, props to you. I don't know if they would have kept Ashley employed doing this job back then, man, because it's tough. It's tough
It
now,
is.
you know?
It is. It's tough. It's tough now. I would even say it's tougher now.
Mm,
I
mm,
and not that, I think it's because the amount of knowledge you need to have just to dispatch,
mm,
you have to know all of those systems. Back then, it was not that hard, right?
mm,
Now it's like I need to know Vesta, I need to know CAD, I need to
mm,
know radio, I need to know and you need to know all of these different softwares, ProQA, AppGo,
mm,
things of that sort. It's like
mm.
you need to have some kind of knowledge, and it's like your pay's here, and it's like, oh, let's just keep teaching you more stuff and just keep your pay the
Mhm.
same.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
every agency does it differently, right?
Yep.
Like,
Mhm.
every agency does it differently. I don't know, I was talking to someone, the other day. Oh, someone was like, "Oh, I'm learning how to read, the wants and the,
Mm.
warrants
Yeah.
and when it comes from another state, like how it's just," and I was like, that is a prime example, just license plates, right?
Yeah.
The hits that you get back when you run a California plate versus a Washington plate, just how the format that it reads is just an example of how everyone thinks that they're doing the thing the best because every single state's license plate hit real different,
A
or
little
it
different.
includes different information, or it's
Yeah.
like, "Why is all this here? I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm just expired, stolen. I need some basic info." And they're like, "Insured or not insured?" I'm like, "I don't care about that. I just need to know that we're out with the right vehicle." But everybody does it a little differently, even
Yep.
down to the states, how they enter their plate info. Like,
Mhm.
it is a prime example of if we could all just kinda get on the same format page, that
Yeah,
would be
I
wonderful.
totally agree with that.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. My biggest pet peeve is the NCIC, like an admin message, if I want to send a message to another agency through that system, the box that we use, it's not an open fill box. It's a line per line box
Oh,
for
wow.
some reason. And I'm like, I don't know who's responsible for this coding, but like, can we not make this an open fill box? I'm like putting the warrant information line by line, and then it cuts
Wow.
off a little bit, so I have to go back and like, it's just like this right here. It seems real 1990 when it's 2024.
Yeah.
So if anyone's responsible for fixing that coding, listening now, I'd appreciate it. I don't know who that is, but that is my current biggest pet peeve right now. Oh man. Well, as someone who's, spent 26 years in dispatching,
Mhm.
and a lot of folks who listen are kind of at two stages of their career. They're either
Yeah.
just getting going, figuring out if they even want to do this, or, they've been doing this for a lot of years, and maybe they're looking to move into the private sector or get into another aspect of emergency response like software. Um, and with you, you've done the dispatching, you've pivoted into the private sector, and you're actually pursuing a doctorate in IT, which badass, by the way. But how do you see career paths evolving for
I
dispatchers or just having these options to pivot out of answering and getting into this
I
back end out of private sector section?
yeah. I think opportunity allowed me to pivot,
Mm,
right? Um, when I was dispatching for 7 years before I was pulled into my first CAD project, and it was a
mm,
CAD implementation project back in, like, I don't know, like 2004 or something like that.
yeah.
I was pulled into that first project, and it showed me that there was so much more to 911 than what I was exposed to.
Mm,
And I, at 7 years, I was kind of new, right? Um, and I became like crazy about it. I absolutely loved it, and I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to do CAD implementations. Oh, okay. So I have to work with these people. So we worked, and after that, I was recruited into the administrative offices for as their CAD SME
mm,
and tester.
mm,
That sort of put the idea in my mind that take leverage the opportunity and the stable hours, because now I actually had normal
mhm.
hours.
Yeah.
Um, Leverage that and go back to school.
Mm,
And I'm a huge proponent of constant learning.
mm,
learn learn, be curious constantly. If your career is in 911, if
mm,
it's in safe public safety, then you should know everything. Just seek information, learn about it, learn about all the different systems that you're using.
mm,
Really learn about it, learn about what other PSAPs are doing. Sign up as a NINA member, because
mm.
that's another thing. That is a financial hurdle for some dispatchers,
Yeah.
right? Having professional memberships to these organizations so that you can constantly be in a learning cycle where
Mm,
you're constantly learning it up. I'm big with that. Learn it up. Don't stop going to school. Knowledge is forever. And
mm,
and that's pretty much as far as the direction I took. Was I leveraged opportunity to get where I'm at right now. And I'm still learning. This is for me, it's just not like I don't feel like I'm come full circle,
mm.
but I feel like I'm close. So
No, that's amazing, and I think it's so true, and I think oftentimes in, our day-to-day showing up, doing the job, answering the phones, we can get caught up in just surviving, right?
yeah.
We're short-staffed, we gotta answer these phones, I gotta get in here. um, and do my job and go home. But there is a level of investing in
Mhm.
this thing that you're surrounded with.
Right.
What do you enjoy about the job that we do? We have so much different technology. Do you want to become the expert on the CAD software we're
Mm.
using? Our radios, your
Yeah.
vibe, you know, the mapping. There's just so many different things that you can become an expert in
Yeah.
if, you know, if you're intentional and your department, you know, supports you in doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
super important
True.
too, is
True.
departments need to have these conversations with their
Mhm.
people, send them to these trainings, get multiple experts on the floor because we are dealing with this software every single day, and everyone knows it's the
Exactly.
worst day in the world when the software fails.
Mhm.
And the person who knows the software isn't in the room, they're on
Exactly.
vacation, you know, that's when the shit hits the fan, is when the person who knows where the switch is not there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, let's get everyone involved in really knowing these tools and knowing the
Exactly.
software that
But
we're working.
here's the thing,
Mhm,
that in order to do that, they need to have adequate staffing levels. And then
mm,
we go back into this vicious cycle of we can't send anybody to training because we don't have enough manpower, right?
mhm,
So how do you fix that?
mm,
How do you fix that?
mm,
I mean, I really truly believe that that's where AI can come in. You can
mm.
have that, you know, pick up for as many telecommunicators you have out for training that can offset some of the workload that's
Yeah,
going to be put on the rest of the call takers that are there.
yeah.
Um, I. I just feel like, yes, training is definitely an issue. There is not enough training, and then the first person to get claimed when there is a situation that happens is the dispatcher or the telecommunicator. Um, so why not invest in training, invest in education, invest in mental health applications for dispatch? They shouldn't have to pay for this stuff, right? Like
Mhm,
this should be
mhm,
part of their work package,
mhm.
right? We do and it's just for me, I just don't see it uh I don't see it happening soon enough. Let's
Yeah,
just put it that way. I think it's it we're it, I think their public safety is in the process of acknowledging mental health issues with telecommunicators. I think that they're making attempts to do things and try to get help to them.
mhm.
I just think that there's a lot more work that needs to be done on that front.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I've experienced conversations with folks because a lot of the things that, you know, my platform is and my beliefs on the application process and things we can do to change to make it a more inclusive and, you know, um, environment where we're actually getting people to the point where we can
Hmm.
actually see if they can do this job,
Right.
um, is very basic for me, but also to other people groundbreaking, right? Like,
Hmm.
"Ashley, I would never." Um, but it's also like, "Ashley, that sounds great, but we don't have the staffing, we don't have the time, we don't
Right.
have XYZ," which I hear you, but also if
Right.
we do not, we're already struggling, right? So
Hmm.
if we take that struggle and let it happen a little longer so we can actually train up these people in those initial steps, because we're
Hmm.
struggling anyway. So if you push
Right.
them through the training process, you don't give them adequate training, you don't give them adequate support,
Hmm.
you make them feel like they're just an ass in these seats. Like, yeah, they're gonna look for some other job. They're gonna look
Right.
somewhere else because there's no buy-in here. Why would I stay here?
Right.
But if we were still understaffed during the same process, but we actually give that adequate training, that adequate support, you know, the adequate follow through, someone's going to be more inclined to stay, even if
Hmm.
the situation is a little understaffed or a little
Right.
not, you know, the normal work situation that folks are going to. But we got to give people a reason to stay. And that
Yeah.
includes the folks who have been doing it for, you know, X amount of years, because it's not just the new folks, it's retaining our folks who are training our
Yeah.
people, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know trainers who have spent years training, just training new person, new person, new person, new person, and then we don't check in on them. Like, it's so hard to
Right.
train someone to do this job.
It is. It is.
It is
Yeah.
exhausting, and yet we give you a trainee, a trainee, a trainee,
And
and then
there's
we're
no break.
confused when you're like, "I'm burnt out." Like, when
Mhm.
you've been
Yeah.
raising toddlers for
Yeah.
12 years, yeah, I would be burnt out too. It's like every year the kid just stays young. Like, oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
uh, technology is definitely something that's relevant and important for 911 dispatchers. And I think we touched on it a little bit,
Mhm.
but how do you think that this technology and the advancements in it can help with the mental health of our dispatchers?
I think a lot of CAD companies are jumping on this trend that's happening with mental health and dispatch. And for example, Versatrim has Mindbase,
Mm,
and that
mm,
is the that dispatcher. It's like this proactive dispatcher wellness, where it can monitor the types of calls that are being handled
mm,
and send an alert, set the dispatcher up with some peer counseling, things of that sort, and resources, which is something that's lacking right now as far as uh, dispatch and mental health. Combining something like Mindbase
mm,
to be able to identify when dispatchers need support.
mm,
Um, I, I I think that combined that with AI assistance
mm,
for managing this information overload and handling less critical calls could dramatically improve telecommunicators' mental health and their well-being.
mm,
I really do believe that. I know dispatchers that take upwards 260 calls a day,
mm,
and that is a lot for one person to handle that type of workload, and you're getting bombarded with one call after another, after another, after another,
mm.
and you have 2 15 minutes and a half-hour break. And it's not
I mean, you
enough.
get 'em.
Yeah, it's not enough. And
Mhm,
it's overwhelming. And I would say even on a personal level,
mm,
there have been times where I've had to get up and walk away because I took a call that I sort of connected with
mm,
in a level that I shouldn't have connected with, right?
mm,
And I needed to walk away and sort of like regroup, wash my face, and then go back to work. But there's no touch base with that dispatcher, right?
mhm,
I'm not getting that. I have a problem. I
mm,
need help, right?
mm.
If there's not that back, that touch base with that telecommunicator, a month later, there might be an issue with a call that they took
Yeah.
because of the fact that they're tired, they're exhausted, and I'm tired of hearing everybody else's problem,
Mm,
right?
mm,
I got this going on at home and this is too much for me and I need to sort of take a break from this. I I really believe that we can do better.
mm,
911 and public safety can do better and provide more support for telecommunicators. And
mhm.
I just think that what's happening right now is just not enough.
Yeah, and I think the key is preventative
Hmm.
efforts,
Yeah.
utilizing technology to have preventative measures in place because, um, like our service, 911 is a very
Hmm.
responsive service, right? If there is no crime that's been committed,
Hmm.
we're limited.
Right.
Or the crime has been committed, it's cold and now we're limited because it's already happened, right? So
Right.
a lot of times in this line of work, we're responding to a crisis. And yet we don't learn from that
No.
when we have the opportunity to
Hmm.
be preventative in many ways, whether it's mental health, providing those check-ins or equipping our dispatchers with training to
Hmm.
prepare them for all the wonderful gray area that
Right.
exists in what we do when we answer 911.
Hmm.
Um, like creating those check-ins, those alarm bells that go off to somebody so they can check in. I was given a
Mhm.
scenario the other day, and they said, like, sergeant reports, your dispatcher had attitude over the air. What do you do? And my first thought was like, well, what was actually going on?
Yep.
Like, were they just getting hit with like a DV, a shooting, and then,
Right.
then they're coming up over the air for your
Mhm.
nonsense? Like, there's so much going on around just giving attitude over the air.
Right.
And and if that's the case, like, what are we doing as a department, as leaders, as supervisors, as an industry to help our people
Exactly.
when they're getting slammed with
Mhm.
calls, with calls,
Yeah.
with calls,
Yeah.
like, just saying we're short-staffed, like, that's not the answer to the problem,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
And if you're short-staffed and you're a supervisor and you're not going in there breaking your people,
Mhm.
slaying calls so they can, kick their feet up for 15 minutes, do better. That's just that is my personal opinion, you know? So you can pause for 15 minutes to give your folks a little air, like, the Zoom meeting will wait, it's okay. The chief should understand if they don't, well,
Exactly.
oh my gosh. But I think I agree with you is that we are definitely getting to a better place where we're acknowledging it, where we're
Right.
being included more, if
Mhm.
not 100%, at
Right.
least a thought. I know
Mhm.
there are still some departments that um, are lacking in general in their peer support, if not bare
Mhm.
minimum, including their dispatch. But we're
Right.
getting there. We're
Yeah.
getting there.
Baby steps, baby steps.
Oh, baby steps is the truth.
Yeah.
Well, looking back at your career, what do you think is something that you're glad has shifted or advanced or changed over these years that maybe you didn't realize was so important when you just started?
Oh, wow. I actually um, I what I've noticed is, obviously I've worked on multiple different CADs
Mm,
throughout my career,
mm,
and I like to see the progression of CAD
mm,
from when I first started to where it is now,
mm,
where it's just like just so advanced and so robust and so instantaneous. And
mm.
that's, how dispatchers, everything has to be sub-second. When I hit that enter key, it better go. That's it. If I hit that enter key and it's spinning,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
getting
what
upset.
hold on. I'm like, "Oh, it's about to go down, guys." Girl, hold your breath.
All cars stand by.
Hold traffic, less priority. My computer's doing something weird. Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I'm all about CAD. So yeah, I like to see how far CAD has come and
Mhm,
how it supports telecommunicator work. I really do.
mhm.
I like that. There are very good aspects about the old school CAD,
Yeah.
right? But I like where we're at right now, so we're
Yeah,
doing good. Yeah.
yeah, very cool. Well, switching to a little more of a personal note,
Mm.
you shared with me in the survey that you donated your kidney to your nephew back in 2013, and your 911 coworkers were really special and supportive during that process.
Yes.
If you're comfortable, I'd love to hear more
Oh yeah,
about that
definitely.
experience.
So I was Maria Gonzalez back then,
Mm,
and this was back in 2013, and it was life changing. It was uh, not just physically, but it it became a spiritual journey
mm,
that prompted me to make changes uh, or improvements to my mental health and my physical health. So um, it taught me about the importance of dispatcher support and how we work together and how we're family and the value of self-worth
Mm,
and gave me a sense of purpose. As dispatchers, we're always neglecting our own well-being because
mm,
we're so focused on taking care of the caller, taking care of others, taking care of a family. And at the time, I was a overweight, depressed dispatcher. They rallied around me when they found out what I was getting ready to do. And along with the support of my coworkers, there was a program. I think I'm getting emotional. There was a program called Battle the Badges,
mm,
which was the city of Philadelphia worked with Weight Watchers, and it was a contest between the police and fire departments on who can lose the most weight.
mm,
So I took advantage of that program and I
mm,
worked with my co-workers, my fellow dispatchers, and they during breaks, they would take me out for walks. We would work out while I'm dispatching or would march in place and do all kinds like I was constantly moving. They even raised funds to help me pay for my mortgage and
mm,
during my time that I was out of work. And so I have to give a special shout out to Philadelphia Police Radio for that and for
mm.
their incredible support during that time. And I won the contest that year. So
Wow.
by the time my donor appointment started, I had already lost 72 pounds
Mm,
and eventually reaching a goal of 100 pounds lost. And I couldn't have done that without them, and they were incredibly supportive during that time. So yeah,
that is,
yeah, a little bit of a
I think in dispatch we have a reputation of being
yeah.
a little rough around the edges.
Oh yeah.
Either young is
Oh
a
yeah, that's a good term. Yeah,
is
that's my
a common
favorite. Yeah.
term.
Baptism and fire, that type
Oh
of
yeah,
thing.
just
Yeah, yeah.
all the flames. But it is really special when a department creates a culture and environment where you want to help the people you show up to work with every single day,
Yeah.
and you're invested a little more than just that's my coworker,
Mhm.
right? I mean, there's a level of, if you just want to show up, do your job and go home, like
Yeah.
by all means. But when we can create um, these special environments like the one you're sharing, in back in 2013, and I'm sure beyond then, like it's really something to hold on to. We used to
Yeah.
call it when I played basketball and we were having a really good year, like everyone wants to touch the magic,
Mm.
everyone wants to be a part of the special thing.
Wow.
And when you can create that in your centers, it's amazing, but you also have to protect it, right? And
Mhm.
like, but that is really what our centers should look like. You should
Yeah.
enjoy the people you're working with. You don't have to invite everybody over for Thanksgiving dinner, but you gotta be at least willing to bring them a plate every once in a while,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I I think that's awesome that you guys, created that environment and your folks under the headset really supported you during that time. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was a really amazing time and it was it taught me a lot about myself and what what I was capable that I was worth something. And when I was in the state of mind I was in back then, right?
Mhm.
I think that this provided me focus and purpose and and an end goal, right? And in the middle of that, I'm thinking, I need to do something. I need to take action. Like I'm thinking as a dispatcher, okay, what do I have to do to fix this? What
Yeah.
do I have to like? Who do I have to dispatch to this? Right?
Oh, shit,
And
it's me.
it's me.
Dang it. I guess we're all
So
going.
yeah,
I guess we're all going. Oh,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah. But
No, it's true,
really
and I
great.
mean, in this line of work, it can be very easy to uh live that set I never say this word right, that lifestyle where you're sitting the whole time at work.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
very easy to kick your feet up for 12 hours, let me tell you.
Mhm.
um, than to be intentional with, standing, sitting, moving. Hopefully have a walking pad, like it's much easier to be willing to sit for 12 hours. But I mean, we are stuck at our desk and
Yeah.
stuck on our headset. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if you could, as a shift, get everyone on board with just being
Mhm.
active and finding moments during those
Yeah.
shifts to move, I mean, it goes a long way.
Oh,
It
yeah.
truly does.
Yeah, we raised the desk up, like,
Mhm.
looking at my, pedometer. "Okay, we gotta get 10,000 steps. March. Alright, all cars stand by. I
They're
can't
like,
breathe."
dispatch, we're chasing somebody. Hold on, hold
Alright,
on.
hold on a
We're
second,
at
I have to finish my steps here.
9,500.
I have to get to 10,000.
No, no, I'm running with you. Just oh my gosh, that's amazing. But yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that.
No,
And
thank you.
for folks who are listening, I think often it's easy for us to in our centers say it's someone else's job to create that environment. This should be coming from leadership. It should be coming from
Mhm.
so and so. And well, they have a bad attitude, so I don't want to, you know, engage with them. Like, valid, feel it, sure. But let's take ownership. Let's focus on the things we can control. And let's be the coworkers we want to work with
Yeah,
and we want to
exactly.
support. And if your leadership is failing, a little bit, you can't necessarily change that. Hopefully you're giving solutions to them and they're receptive. And but if they're not, hey, get together with your shift mates and create the environment you want to spend 12 hours in. Because
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
yeah, half the time the windows don't open if there are windows.
If there are windows.
There are,
Or you can see outside, I'm not sure about that.
right? That my one of my supervisors was like, "Well, if the windows could open, we could escape." So they went, that's why they don't open them.
Yeah, exactly. They knew what they were doing.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And for the folks who get put like in the basement, they're like, it's harder to get out when you gotta
Yep.
go upstairs. I have this flight of stairs at work that humbles me 3 times a week to get
Oh,
to my center.
man.
I'd be halfway up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's just they're like at this angle that is just extra. Like,
Oh,
why
wow.
made it this angle? Like, I feel like I'm Mount Everesting it. It's terrible, terrible flight of stairs. Well, this has been amazing. And one of the questions that I ask everyone before we jump off is, what advice would you give someone who is considering a career in dispatch?
Oh, okay. Other than don't do it? Nah. And I'm pretty sure everybody starts off like that, don't do it. But
Mhm,
I'm pretty sure they also say it's not for everyone.
mm, mhm,
It can be, though, incredibly rewarding. It it's more than just answering calls, right? It's about being that calm, and it's very cliche, but it's about being the calm in somebody's storm, but it really is. It's making split second decisions, um, and multitasking to the 10th degree, like under intense pressure, right?
mhm,
But you are that first point of contact for people in their absolute worst days, and for that, that takes a special kind of strength, and it's a special person that can do that, right? And um, develop your communication skills. They're so good. It's absolutely they're your most valuable asset. Okay,
mhm,
is being able to communicate clearly and be compassionate. Um, Staying curious, being hungry for knowledge, I think
mhm,
is so important. Um, let's see what else. Really, more importantly, just take care of yourself. Prioritize yourself prioritize your mental health. I'm really big on that. And because you will hear things that nobody else has ever heard in their whole entire life,
Mm,
right? And you will take that with you. You will take that home. You will sleep with that and you will live that. You will eat it and breathe it and live it, right? And that is in itself is exhausting.
mm,
And so mental health is extremely important. And in the end, your fellow dispatchers will always be there for you. They will always provide support because in the end, they're your family. And even I don't think I've been to a call center yet where I have not seen dispatchers just sort of like, you know, we're all in this together, and that connects us. We may they I've worked with people I didn't necessarily get along with, but I will always back you up. I
mm.
will always be your partner. And that struggle is what connects dispatchers. And it's so important. Your fellow dispatchers will become like family. So if you're interested in taking that jump into dispatch, it is really rewarding. And I'd love to see young dispatchers and be passionate about the job. And it's like those are the ones that you want to try to like, mentor and sort of like push forward and saying, yeah, I could see you doing this.
I
And you're so much bigger than this. Let's get you set up in dispatch and let's get you moving somewhere else. And I think climbing the ladder, being able to see past that headset, see past what public safety and the whole entire public safety realm, what it can offer you. I think that it's 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 like no other. Your every single day will be something different. You will never be bored. So, and when you are bored, you be happy that you are. So,
Ain't that the truth, man?
yeah.
Well, so true. Amazing advice. Thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing your many years of experience and being vulnerable with us today. I've learned so much and I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, Ashley.
All right. I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
All right, everybody. That was another amazing episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch. And genuinely, I think one of the biggest, there were so many takeaways today, but one of the biggest things that I took away was, excuse me, was really being intentional with continuing to learn and gain knowledge about this industry. Like struggling with my outro here. You should always be learning, wanting to learn more about this job. Figure out what excites you outside of just answering those 911 those 911 calls. Are you really excited about that CAD software? Are you really excited about NG911 and how that's going to implement your center? Are you a radio gal and want to learn all about the radio software and systems? There are so many places to go and learn about the things that feed into our centers. And who better to be an expert at those things than the folks who are utilizing those softwares and services every single day? So go find that information, join those organizations like Nina and APCO, and bring those trainings to your center. Ask for those trainings so you can become knowledgeable. And maybe if the time comes, maybe you'll pivot into the private sector and continue serving 911 just in a different lens. Until next time, everybody stay raspy and, of course, continue to take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Dispatch podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, or maybe even submitting your own story, you can do all that and more at theraspydispatcher.com. Until next time, stay raspy.